You're listening to Well Met,
a
Hearthstone podcast brought to you by BlizzPro.com.
Well met.
Hey everybody, and welcome to episode number 50 of Well Met. It's 50 episodes, but that's not the big thing here. You just heard our new intro, but that's not the big thing here. I'm John Horstman, that's J.R. Cook, that's Kevin Hovdestad, that's also not the big thing here. The big news, we've got a special guest on the show this week. Senior producer for Hearthstone, Mr. Yong Wu. Yong, welcome to the show, man. We're so excited to have you here.
Yeah, it's a real honor to be on the show on your 50th episode. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
I look forward to listening to your next 50 as well. Although I gotta say, you guys cheat a little bit because the 49th episode was like 2 minutes long.
You're true. You're true. It was jam-packed. It was jam-packed for the record.
Like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I figure the HCT America's Winter Preliminary has to count because I was on air for several hours, so we'll call that episode 49 and move on.
Yeah, totally. It was a big pleasure watching you. I watched the one where you casted Fibonacci's game, and I really felt like you had great chemistry with Kibler and Froden, and it was really awesome to add so many like new personalities to the casting desk, and you're definitely one of the that was definitely one of the sets I enjoyed the most. So thanks for that.
Yeah, Kevin,
that whole series was crazy, just unreal.
I mean,
Fibonacci's like decks were insanely like just the different way that he was playing, very similar like meta decks that we're seeing, but just a little twist that he put in. It was very awesome to see. I really enjoyed the series. Yeah.
And the commentary really helped because I follow the scene obviously, but just kind of the analysis of it's like, hey, he has a freeze mage deck, but here are the ways why his freeze mage deck is actually good against other freeze mage decks because people were expected to bring freeze mage decks to this tournament. So just talking about just little differences and hey, do I use the torch versus do I use this other card? It was really helpful. It really helps the enjoyment of the game, helps me understand why that game is significant or why his choices are significant. So I really appreciated the casting.
Yeah, I normally hate like watching freeze mage versus freeze mage, but that game was actually really fun to watch.
Well,
even Kibler,
it was fun to watch, but it was the commentary really helped because if I didn't know anything, it's still two guys sitting there and it's like freeze, freeze, freeze. But now you're like, oh my god, I can't believe he has a torch in his deck and it's gonna go into his deck and it's significant because he's not gonna fatigue. You're like, oh, okay, that's super smart. So
yeah, it's right up there. That freeze mage mirror and then Ostkaka and Tice at World Championships last year were I think my two favorite freeze mage matchups I've ever seen. So that was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
All right, so Yong, before we get into the actual meat of the stuff we want to talk about today, we kind of just wanted to give you a chance to tell people who you are because there's probably people on the stream who don't know you. They think Hearthstone is Ben Brode and he's not here and we can't hear his patented laugh. Although I'm sure if he laughs down the hall, if he laughs down the hall, we'll hear it on stream. But do you want to tell people a little bit about you and kind of what you are responsible for on the Hearthstone team, stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am Yong Wu. I'm senior producer on the team. I've been on the project for about 3 years now. I've been with Blizzard for about 6. And I joined the team when we were initially building our original prototype. We used to call the Fire and Ice build. And that was when we were really trying to get tight on what the Hearthstone experience is, and it was really focused on being in the game with two mage decks, playing against each other, and to really kind of show the company what Hearthstone's all about. So then we can get really officially greenlit and move forward. So that's around the time I joined, and from there I helped the team coordinate and plan for launching the alpha, then the beta, and finally a launch of the product. So producers at Blizzard do a variety of different things, but one way to look at it is we're part product manager and part project manager. So ultimately, my job is to work with people like Broad or the production director, VP, Jason Chase, who's my boss, and other people on the team, Ben Thompson from the artistic direction side, kind of work with them to help understand what the vision for Hearthstone is, like what is Hearthstone as a project, as a game, as a business, and then make sure that we execute on that vision. So that's a lot of planning and a lot of coordination and communication. That's what I focus on.
And you're quite the Hearthstone player yourself. Is it a two-time legend? Is that right?
Yeah, it's funny because I recently had a son, and I thought that would be when things get the craziest. But the 2 times I got legend was the month my child was born and then the month after. Just the way it happened to work out. So yeah, it was last year. It's been fun. I wouldn't say I'm like professional grade Hearthstone player. I think I really enjoy playing. I love engaging with the community. I'm on Reddit a lot. I'm watching streams a lot on Twitch, and I think all of that kind of helps me get a little better. And but I'm also not like super necessarily focused on the top 0.2% optimization, right? I think for me at least, and this is what's cool about Hearthstone, right? Like everybody kind of has a different angle on how they play. So, for me, it's less important that I squeeze out that last 0.5% win rate. I actually end up playing a lot of like weird, funky, wacky decks and see if I can get to, rank 5 with it, or how deep into rank 5 I can get with it. So, it's good. Like different players, like obviously everybody on the Hearthstone team, and there's about 50 of us now, we all kind of engage with the product in a different way. I think we have guys on the balance team who are obviously getting to legend almost every month, and really kind of engaging with the game at that top tier. You have someone like me who's I guess I'll consider myself more like intermediate level, and then we have players on the team who are very casual, and I think that gives us really good perspective on what we think we should do for Hearthstone moving forward.
So personally, moving forward, then, are you planning on like laddering with the new standard format, or are you going to go full wild? Where do you see yourself going with that? Or are you just going to do both and see what happens?
Yeah, so for someone like myself, I'm very excited about change, and I'm very excited about engaging with Hearthstone as almost like a puzzle I can solve. So even now when I'm playing Hearthstone, it's, right now in the current meta, maybe, druids and paladins are very popular in the meta. Given that context, what's the right puzzle piece I can use to gain an edge and, gain a lot of win rates? For instance, over the last like 3 weeks or so, I've been playing a lot of Warrior, or maybe Patron Warrior. Maybe they have a, kind of a edge over things like mid-range druid decks, or they perform well against certain types of paladin decks, and I like figuring those puzzles out. And eventually, it's true that if there is absolutely no change in the meta, those puzzles start getting solved, right? And everybody starts knowing, okay, well, given the current circumstance, these are the best moves we can make. So, for me, I'm very excited about change. I'm very excited about new cards coming into the meta. Then that makes like a huge difference. So, in that regard, Standard's going to be really good for that. If you're the kind of player who wants the meta to shift, who wants new cards to make a big splash, and who wants to see new cards make a large portion of the decks that are played in the meta. So, and on the other hand, sometimes I'll also be really excited about going back and putting together maybe the ultimate mech deck ever made, and go back to wild mode. So
yes,
it's all about what you want. Do you want to get like every single card ever made and see what's the craziest thing you can come up with in that context, and what's the best, most powerful deck in the world of all these powerful cards, that you'll be playing in wild? if you want the change, if you want that kind of more turbulent puzzle that you solve in a more regular cadence, then I think standard will be for you.
So something I want to ask you to kind of piggyback off that. So we now know this year is the year of the Kraken. We're really excited. Awesome name, by the way. Whoever came up with that, kudos. But something in in the FAQ when they were talking about the year of the Kraken is the opportunity to make balance changes. And is the Hearthstone team with these new formats, are they going to be changing their proactivity for how they approach balance, especially in standard going further?
Yeah, I think we need to clarify our position on that a little bit. What we're trying to communicate is that we are very committed to the standard mode fulfilling its vision, and standard mode fulfilling its vision is an ever-changing meta and new cards making a really big impact, and that not the same type of decks basically hang out in the meta year after year. Right, that's like our vision for standard, and we're really committed to making that happen. So to achieve that, we've been looking very hard at. Okay, so that's one thing we want to achieve is we really want standard to be that ever-changing format. But the other key goal we're trying to achieve and is that especially if you're maybe a little bit more of a casual player, if you're a player that plays for a while and then leaves and comes back, that it's still an experience that you can relate with, and it's an experience that you can easily come back to. So, on the one hand, we are really committed to the idea of keeping basic and classic decks as an evergreen set that you can continue to relate to, that you can invest in, feeling like you can always use in any standard format. But then kind of trying to balance that with our vision of making sure that standard is an ever-changing format. So, if there are some cards that are in the classic set that we feel are going to interfere with the vision of making standard this ever-changing format, then we're committed to doing something about that. And that's really the main thing we're trying to communicate. This is standard formats coming out. This is when players are expecting change. Let's take a good look at our classic cards and see what needs to happen to ensure that moving forward, standard is always going to be an ever-changing format as new cards get introduced.
Great.
And we're committed to that. So as you guys know, we take changing cards very seriously. So we're going to do this round to fulfill this vision of the standard format. And if we feel like that vision is not being met, then we're going to continue to evaluate, and we're serious about that.
Great.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's super encouraging. Yeah, I think people are just excited about the idea that the fear of changing cards is gone now that we know that rotation is a thing. You talked a fair bit, though, Yong, about basic and classic being sort of the evergreen set that will be available to people forever. Is that, you think, going to be sufficient in the minds of the team as a way to address sort of the new player experience and the barrier to entry, because there's now that sort of guarantee that you've got a portion, right, at any given time, say a quarter to a third of the set, where it's just going to stay and be stable? Does that do enough to help with the cost of getting started for a new player, knowing that they're going to be safe long term?
Yeah. So obviously, classic set will provide a safe harbor. So if you have thoughts about, hey, where should I invest my initial time or resources early, it gives you that target. But we're tackling new player experience from multiple angles. So on the one hand, we've been using various mechanisms to help accelerate a new player's collection. So we have things like watch and learn quest, where just by watching a friend win a game, you get a whole classic pack. Or we've also been trying with a reward of giving out classic packs for Tavern Brawl. So once a week, you essentially can get a free pack very easily. So there's that one facet that we're continuing to look at, and we're trying various things, and we're going to continue to try different things where we can try to accelerate people's collection. On the other hand, we're tackling it from different angles as well, where we have dedicated designers who take kind of the early experience of Hearthstone players very seriously, and we look at things like their early win rates, and how does it affect their behavior, how does it affect their enjoyment of the game, and we make changes in the way new players are perhaps protected, in kind of casual matchmaking pool, etc., such that maybe before the change, the win rate for new players coming into the system were in the 20 to 30% zone, and we can maybe make some tweaks such that new players don't get crushed so much. Maybe they get match made more together with other newer players, and we can kind of bump that win rate up to more in the 40-50 range. So, I don't think it's just about free stuff that's going to be solving this issue. I think we need to kind of tackle it from all angles, kind of matchmake them more fairly, provide the right kind of education, and then supply them maybe with some material that will help them accelerate their collection. And that's something we're serious about. We've been making very good progress. The win rate for new players have increased substantially over the kind of many iterations of changes we've been making, and we're going to continue to do that.
Right on.
Yeah, so that's something that I was curious about as well. Was like, so I've decided to recently get back into Magic the Gathering myself. I quit like 6 years ago. I have like 15 years worth of cards, and I went to get back into it like just a couple weeks ago, and none of my cards that I own are available, like to play in any kind of standard format. And I remember reading an interview about that, where you guys were talking about how the reason why you brought back classic card sets or keeping them completely in standard is because you were wanting, if a new player goes away for any amount of time, they come back and they have something there in their in their deck, or something there that they can play with, basically. So with the standard emergent and everything, does the team plan on maybe doing any kind of like focusing on like new or unique cards, or will there be a lot of like reimagined cards? Basically, is there anything that they're going to do with that, or anything that they're going to do with possibly like bringing back old cards, like re-releasing old cards into new sets? For example, Lotheb, bringing that back so that it's in some kind of standard classic set.
Yeah, I mean, this is a frequently asked or frequently pondered question. It's like, when Blizzard says they're going to have standard format and we're going to be making new expansions, on the one hand, I think people are concerned, right? Is it just going to be that when the new set comes out, it's going to be, Son of Sludge Belcher, and it's like 5 mana, 3/5. Once it
Yes.
comes out, you're like, what are you doing to me, right? It's like all you're doing is making me get the same card again.
Right.
And I want to stress that is not at all the way we think about this. We're always looking forward, and we're looking to make awesome new cards that are different, that creates new, unique puzzles for us to solve. Obviously, there's always going to be some types of toolkits that we need to talk about. Maybe there needs to be some toolkits to address aggro, or maybe there needs to be some toolkits to address a weapon heavy decks, or whatever, or a spell heavy deck, or so we're obviously going to be thinking about what toolkits are necessary, and then we'll be kind of creating new cards to kind of tackle those gaps. But we're never coming from the perspective of let's just let's make Mrs. Boom. And it's like
Right.
7 mana, 7/7, make 2 boom bots with whatever. We're not going to do that.
Yeah. Okay. So I think this is pretty close, but something that the Hearthstone team has done in the past is with new expansions and adventures, they've kind of introduced or really invested a lot into a specific keyword. With Naxxramas, we saw a lot of Death Rattle. With Goblins versus Gnomes, we saw a lot of Goblins and Gnomes and mechs. And so with these keywords not going away per se, but kind of phasing out of standard, what is kind of the philosophy of the Hearthstone team as far as, will mechs, be viable again? Are we going to get like a batch of 30 cards, or is it, to your point, it's like it's looking forward? Maybe, maybe it's not mechs this next time, it's something different and something great that you have, been thinking a lot about.
Yeah, so I think you're talking about keywords, but there may be like two categories of things we're talking about. Obviously, Death Rattle is not going away anytime soon, and Naxxramas obviously was a Death Rattle heavy adventure, but the mechanics of Death Rattle is not going to go away anytime soon. But but we should talk more about minion types like mechs. And the fact of the matter is, when standard format rolls out, there's going to be less mechs in standard, right? So, we're not necessarily going to want to print mechs with every single expansion so that mechs are always a thing. I think mechs were super fun, and we had a really great time playing with them while GVG was out. And if you're really excited about continuing to play with them, you can continue to play with them in Wild. But I think the types of players who would be really interested in playing the standard format, the types of players who want to see new things and change, I don't necessarily, I'm not sure if they necessarily want to see, Mech Mage version 2 in standard format, right? So that's something we're going to control. And we take both Wild and standard format seriously. So, I don't think this is to say that we're never going to print another mech ever again. But, I wouldn't expect us to print another 50 mechs in standard, anytime super soon.
Okay, cool. So, kind of just while we're talking about the concept of recycled mechanics and new synergies and stuff, one of the things that's been a kind of a popular topic in the community over the last several months, right, back to honestly before the World Championships even, was the notion of what the developers want to see as far as viable win conditions in Hearthstone. There's all sorts of different ways. We know that the game is fundamentally about minion versus minion combat, but there's been several different iterations of ways to win the game and close it out, whether that's Druid combo or Freeze Mage using Alexstrasza and Frostbolts and Ice Lances, all these different types of ways to win the game. So when you guys are building the new sets and thinking about standard and just in general looking to the future of the game, what role do you guys see a variety of win conditions playing, and how do you think about developing them when you actually build new cards?
Yeah, we think that being able to win in a variety of different ways is, an important part of any strategy game. And, even if you look at the meta right now, you can see that different types of decks can behave very differently and achieve victory in different through different routes. So, maybe you have a deck that's focused on more of a late game, and earlier on you're kind of getting your Fiery War Axe out and armoring up and focusing on getting enough, kind of surviving the early stage and then closing it out with big minions like a Control Warrior deck. Or maybe you're focused on really rushing down your opponent's health without kind of considering the board condition, right? You're trying to kind of ignore that as much as possible and go for the kill. There's the kind of hyper aggro face hunter deck and everything in between. So we think diversity there is very important. The thing that we are not very excited about, and we've expressed this in multiple occasions, is decks that are able to do insane amount of damage on an empty board out of nowhere. And I think this was one of the big reasons why we had an issue with the pre-Warsong change Patron Warrior. There was just too many circumstances where the right move was to play no minions against this deck. And even if you were to try to navigate through that, they can just play a bunch of cards on an empty deck and deal like 40, 60 plus damage, even if you're armored up. So that kind of situation, I think, is fundamentally like unfun to lose against. It's like, hey, I'm winning. Oh, I lose, or hey, I can't do anything about this because eventually by turn whatever, this is going to happen to me on an empty board. I have no interaction with it, right? But that isn't to say that we don't like combo decks. Like I'm actually very happy with what ended up happening with the Patron Warrior archetype after the Warsong change. And now you have a situation where it's not just a deck where you're playing value minion turn after turn. It is a combo deck where you're trying to set up your situation, get your dudes out. Maybe you're getting your unstable ghoul out, and your death bite situated, and you're trying to hold some key cards in your hand like the Grim Patron and maybe the Inner Rage. And around the like mid game, around turn 5, turn 6, turn 7, you're trying to get maybe 4 patrons on the table and challenge your opponent to deal with that situation, right? It's like, hey, I got 4 patrons on the table. If you don't control this right now, the pressure's going to be really on you. And that's the kind of combo deck that we're a lot more excited about, where you can set it up and then give your opponent an opportunity to try to do something about it. And if they don't, then you get really rewarded. Instead of all of it happening out of an empty board without an opportunity to react. So, overall, the types of cards that I think can cause this kind of situation in Hearthstone, are cards with charge, and then maybe very offensive spells, because just the way the game is designed and streamlined, it's very hard to set up a situation where you can react to those 2 cards in a satisfying way. So, that's something we're going to continue to keep our eyes on, and those are types of finishing moves that we probably don't want to be super dominant in the meta.
And speaking of Patron Warrior there a bit, we saw quite a bit in the tournament that we were talking about earlier in the show, HET. There's a lot of people that brought it. There's a lot of... it's still, like, people thought that deck was going to die when Warsong Commander got nerfed, and it obviously did not. It's still, a tier 1 style of deck. But with that, and regarding esports, in the esports spectator, like in the HCT, for example, you have their own spectator mode that they kind of set up, and Hearthstone has its own spectator mode as well. And I was wondering if Hearthstone, if there's a better spectator experience on the horizon, because right now with the cards upside down, things like that, is there a better version possibly coming, or are you guys pretty happy with what you currently have in the game right now?
Yeah, we're always looking for ways to improve the game, and we're always looking for ways to improve the features we have in place. Spectator mode is definitely another feature we continue to look at. But at the end of the day, we have a really giant list of prioritized lists, and we have to sit down and think, has a community at present time been able to tackle the challenges of spectating in a way that is good right now? And I think with these tournaments using overlays, etc., I think we're able to provide a viewing experience that is good. So maybe that means that there are some other aspects of the game that we might want to focus on sooner before we move forward with making additional changes to spectator mode. But this isn't to say that we're not going to do anything with it. Again, we have a lot of great ideas on how we can improve that. It's just always a matter of prioritization.
So I feel like the answer might be kind of similar for this next question as well, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway.
Go for it.
Right now, players in Hearthstone right now, players are given some statistics based on how they play. They've got levels for individual heroes. They've got the amount of wins they've had in ranked mode, the amount of wins that they've had in arena, and their highest, right? It's the highest amount you've gone in an arena run. And recently we saw some of the Chinese players in Hearthstone get kind of this really cool tool with more statistics about what's going on Does the Hearthstone team currently have any plans about putting some more stats in the hands of the players straight from Blizzard? Or are they still are we kind of happy with the Hearthstone deck trackers and things like that and other third-party tools that are out there?
I mean, again, I think it's all about matter of prioritization, and I think certain types of players are very excited about getting a lot more of these types of informations in the client. Obviously, that needs to get weighed with, perhaps complexity that could add to the client, et cetera. But I think the important point is that we are actively thinking about all of this very hard, and we have a growing team that is working on various aspects of the game. I don't have anything to announce here, obviously, but these are all features that we're continuing to iterate on, and we're continuing to try out different things, and we're excited to really make more changes in these ways.
Thanks, Yong.
Fair enough. Although we're gonna keep pressuring you for those announcements, so stay tuned. Here comes the next one.
Put on the heat.
Yeah, exactly. So I obviously just came back from doing the America's Winter Preliminary on the Hearthstone Championship Tour. We talked a lot about this on the actual stream, but the new Championship Tour format is a really awesome way to give players and spectators and fans, right, a really awesome kind of year-long storyline. You get to follow these players as they succeed all throughout the year, learn more about them, see how they finished on ladder, how they're doing in all these different tournaments, and then Blizzard has also, alongside that, released the really, really impressive Fireside Gathering program that's even better this year and does an even better job of supporting that championship tour. So what else are you guys looking at doing? What else is the Hearthstone team and the esports team looking to do to help Hearthstone grow even more in the esports space?
Yeah, I mean, so we've been talking about this a little bit, and I can't talk about any like specific thing like right now, but I do want to convey one thought, is that esports runs very deep in Blizzard's blood, and it goes all the way up the chain, all the way up to like Mike Morheim, who's personally hyper invested in esports. And as you know, Blizzard's been one of the pioneering companies that's been committing to esports originally from StarCraft 1 and beyond. So this is an area we are seriously invested in. We have a team of really dedicated, awesome dudes who are thinking specifically in this space. They work very closely with us in talking about how we can actually synergize with maybe even in-game features. So I want everyone to be aware that we're constantly thinking about this stuff, and we have tons of awesome things planned for 2016. Just stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
So, speaking of that, though, and this is probably going to get the same exact answer because you've heard us talk about it.
You have to try. You have to try.
You heard us talk about it on the show.
Come on, Yong. Come on, Yong. Yong, please.
We are big proponents of having some kind of tournament mode. We really want some kind of tournament mode.
Like 8 months of, hey guys, tournament mode.
We've been talking about it for a long time, right? And tournament mode, it's something we've been talking about a lot, and even the devs have kind of said it was under construction prior to Tavern Brawl. We also recently saw a tournament feature in Legacy of the Void, StarCraft. It's a very good, awesome feature in the game. Any chance, any bit of information about any kind of tournament mode? I'm trying here, guys.
Desperate. He's begging.
People can't say we didn't try, at least.
You guys are trying your hardest. I appreciate that. For tournament mode specifically, I think it's really, here are ways that I think guys like the three of you guys can help is to really have a dialogue about what does tournament mode mean in the context of Hearthstone and the way it is. And, obviously StarCraft 2, for StarCraft 2, it made sense for them to try the kind of more straightforward bracketing system where maybe 16 guys get all together and they all play, and then you wait for the other people to finish, and then you advance to the next bracket, and it's like kind of maybe a multi-hour commitment, and maybe that all makes sense in the context of, and that all makes sense in the context of StarCraft 2. But does that does it make sense in the context of Hearthstone as something that's in the client? Is something to think about, because there's a lot of challenge with that kind of synchronous bracketed play, especially when you're not all sitting down together and you have kind of a commitment to play together and stay together. And we had to put a lot of our thoughts into solving that, even for things like the arena. For the arena, we were trying to create that similar kind of feel, right? Like, oh, I love drafting a deck and playing in a kind of Swiss style format where I'm playing against other people, and how much I win with that deck really matters. And I think kind of just a straightforward way to have done it is get 8 guys in a queue, and then they all draft. You have to wait for each other to draft, and you wait for each other to play each other, and there's a lot of waiting going on. And we just didn't think that was right for the kind of experience we're looking for in an in-client experience for Hearthstone. So, basically what we got in there right now is kind of a hybrid Swiss-style experience you can have without all the wait. So when we talk about tournament mode, what does that mean? Like, do we really want a 16-person bracketed situation? Maybe it's more like Arena, but maybe with constructed decks in there. Maybe that could be really cool. And that's, when we've talked previously about, we've been working on it, or we've been thinking about it. It's really in that context. It's been this thought experiment, and we try things, right? We try things and prototype things and try different ideas out. That's where we've been at, and that's where we continue to be. And I think we're starting to get some really cool thoughts about what that kind of tournament feel could be in the context of an in-game Hearthstone experience, in-client Hearthstone experience. And I think for people like you guys, if you can engage with your community and kind of start thinking about it in more in that context, instead of asking for, hey, what about tournament mode? But it's like, what do I actually want? And for some people, it's like, hey, me and 4 of my buddies actually want to spend 6 hours straight on a Sunday on a 256-person tournament, and that's what we want. And we're cool if there's waiting, because maybe we're gonna eat some chips and hang out, and that's the experience we want. Cool, that's one thing. But you're playing Hearthstone on your phone, and that's kind of how you engage with the product. Is that really what you're going to participate in? It's a question mark.
Yeah, I feel like there's almost like two, like whenever I ask for tournament mode, there's really like 2 different things.
Yeah.
Because there's one where I have the automated tournaments that would just be a way to, that I won't have to like go and play ranked all day, and just being able to prepare for a tournament, like just a straight like 8-man quick tournament, be able to try out my decks in a tournament style format. Whereas the other, I feel like, allowing players to design their own and have the tools to kind of, especially for Fireside gatherings, because Fireside gatherings that I've ran, you've wanted to be able to allow players to lock in the decks that they've used, allow some kind of tracking, easy thing. There's a really good post on Reddit yesterday about a guy that runs a brick and mortar store that runs Fireside gatherings, who's asking for those kind of tools. Yeah. So I almost feel like there's 2 different things there.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think there's just 2 different things there. I think there's actually, like, when we sat down and really broke it down, there's like almost 6+ categories of things that people want that gets kind of jammed into the T word. But there's a lot of different aspects of it. And when you bring up Fireside, that's another thing that we are super duper hyper committed to making better and better. And we think there's something special with Fireside Gathering when we can get like people together physically over a virtual game like Hearthstone. And I think kind of special kind of relationship forms between people who get together like that. So that's an area we're going to invest a lot into, and we're going to continue to invest a lot into. So I'm glad that you guys enjoyed how the preliminaries worked out and how we were able to do that. With like multiple Fireside gatherings happening, all around the world. Because I think a lot of people who watch the streams, maybe didn't necessarily even realize that's what was happening. Like there are all these players could show up to any one of these multiple firesides that are happening all around the world, and even the people who are local to those firesides, had a chance to participate in the tournament. And then when the kind of the last phase of the preliminaries came around, we obviously had dudes like Kevin and everyone get together in Burbank, and they were streaming it from a central location. But it was like a grassroots thing happening all around the world. And it was so seamless that you look at it and you're like, oh, it's another tournament. And all these dudes are sitting there playing Hearthstone together. It's like, no, that wasn't it. These guys were, doing these individual firesides, which were run by, it wasn't even run by Blizzard. It was run by, like local guys who wanted to do something awesome with their local firesides. And the fact that could all come together and then be seamless like that and plug into the story of Hearthstone World Championship, I think is really cool, and we're going to really continue to invest in that organizationally, and maybe even kind of technologically and feature-wise through Hearthstone.
Yeah, and I know for me, like it's been huge in the Kansas City area where I live in. We have several places here that do several fireside gatherings, and every time we have them, there's a ton of people that show up, and it's great to just meet and play with people. I've had a lot of good friends that I've met that way that play Hearthstone, and I think it's a very, very important thing to the game.
Yeah, I mean, and people didn't realize at all, right? Like watching the preliminary, there were people in 14 different locations. Yeah. Blizzard had sent them out those like backdrops and lighting kits, so it all looked super consistent. But I mean, behind that, it's like, there was, 50 people hanging out in Washington, D.C., watching those people play right there live, able to like chat with them and have a drink with them after they played their HCT match. Like it was really something else to see what that looked like and what all of those events were going to be like. And apparently, what I was told is that they're trying to do even more next time. So there'll be more and more locations, and the odds that you can drive an hour and be at a nearby location where you can be a part of the championship tour are just increasing as the program continues to evolve, which I think is great.
Yeah, totally. I almost feel like we did too good of a job at sending out those kits and making everything consistent. Because I think that's a really important point that this stuff was happening basically like at people's, like right around the corner from different people's houses all around the world, and you don't all have to fly into Burbank to participate in the in the World Championship.
Yeah, people definitely couldn't tell. It's like, this guy's in Boston, this guy's in Buenos Aires. It looks
exactly like, what? The same. Really? Like, exactly.
Yeah. So, okay, Yong, we did miss one question earlier that we wanted to sort of touch on a little bit. And we've talked a little bit about the standard rotation and what that's going to do to card balance. Is there a concern for you guys that down the road you might feel like there's less pressure to balance a card because it's going to be rotated out with a future set, right? We've seen, for example, in the history of all the cards that have ever been changed in Hearthstone, the only card from outside of Basic or Classic that ever got changed was Undertaker. Everything else was part of the Basic or Classic sets. So if a powerful card were to come out, for example, in the new set in the spring, would the fact that you guys know it's going to leave the standard set reduce the likelihood that you would balance it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to talk about the trade-offs of changing these cards, and from design perspective, I think the most important thing is that the players feel that the cards that they're acquiring has stability and substance to it, so that it's not going to suddenly change on a whim on some kind of a weekly balance patch, right? And two, that that people are given the opportunity to work out these puzzles and solve these puzzles, and then be rewarded for solving those puzzles for some amount of time until another community member figures out a way to counter that solution. So it's very important to us that we give the community the opportunity to kind of encounter these cards and work through some of these puzzles themselves without Blizzard dictating what you can and cannot play. It's when Mech Warper first came out, and Mech Mage was flavor of the month. It was all about how like Mech Warper is a card we have to ban. It's insane tempo. It's unstoppable. We have to do something about this, right? And I think one way to approach it could have been like, okay, well, this week now, Mech Warper is nerfed or banned or it's not in the game. Now you have to now go play different sets of cards, right? Versus allowing players to try those things out, and then allowing then other players to figure out a counter to it and balance out the meta. I think that's actually what players want. With that said, sometimes there's gonna be elements in the game that needs to get addressed, and when we see that happening, and we obviously have very significant visibility into every game ever played and the win rate of every card, and we got super smart guys looking at these stats very regularly. I think sometimes when people get frustrated, they imagine us all kind of sitting around like a pool just chilling out and hanging out all day. But no, it's like we have super smart dudes, like especially in the balance design team, playing with these cards, in the ladder, looking at the stats, and after a lot of debate and watching the community kind of react in different ways, sometimes we might decide some things need to change. In that case, we'll do it. And we did it with Undertaker. And I don't think the fact that there's rotation happening is going to change that. We will step in when it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody is super worried about it. It was more just a curiosity thing because we didn't know about Standard up until recently, when obviously that's something you guys have been talking about for a long time. So I think a lot of people sort of looked at the announcement and went, oh, well, this is why Dr. Boom never got changed, is because he's just going to go away, right? Like, I think there was a little bit of that perception, maybe, which obviously isn't the case, but, it's good to get that on the table. So,
by the way, you did make that announcement the day after our show, so if you could realign that would be great.
If that stuff could come out, not on a Monday. That would be...
Well, it's funny because... I mean, I'm sure you guys don't mind. You guys are all friends with each other. It's like the Angry Chicken guys have a similar problem because we often, I mean, this is no secret. Like our common patch schedule is on Tuesdays, so right. Your shows are on Sundays, their shows on Mondays. So it's always like, oh yeah, nothing's really going on, and then I talk about it. And then like 6 hours later, like we drop a big package, and like they don't get to talk about it for 5 days or 6 days. So. I don't know, man. Maybe you guys want to have like a Wednesday show and get ahead of this. Think about it.
Maybe that's what we need to do. Coming up on Wednesdays. I liked it though because we used to be able to go straight from our show right to your streams on Sunday nights. Are we gonna get those back? Those were the best.
Oh, thank you. But it's been more challenging with an 18-month-old, but it's something I'm working out. But Ben Bro's been streaming, if you guys noticed.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's amazing.
It's really cool. He's just such a fun guy to hang out with. It's like I love working with him because it's just like fun to like hang out with him and talk about work and get things done. So I'm really glad that he's starting to do more of that. Like you can just hang out with him and realize that like this laughing crazy character is not like something, like that's actually how he is, and he's like a super nice, fun, smart dude to hang out with. So.
Yeah, my Ben Brode experience was forever changed because before we did the winter preliminary, we went for Korean barbecue with all the people off the dev team, and Ben Brode takes his Korean barbecue very seriously.
Oh, how you cook them? Yeah.
Oh God. It's unbelievable. Like he's putting like 14 pounds of meat on this thing and just in it. Like you can't talk to him. You can't get a word in edgewise because he is zeroed in on that table.
Well, I mean,
that's the table I want to be at.
We don't talk about this very often, but sometimes we talk about, because Brode's been working for Blizzard forever, and he started out like in QA organization and just worked his way up, through hard work and everything. But at one part of his long career at Blizzard, he was a producer, like myself. So you can definitely see certain aspects of that coming into play, especially when you're dealing with things like Korean barbecue. It's like, okay, we have to eat so many pounds of meat, and we got 8 guys, and we got 45 minutes. We need to cook X number of pounds every 4 minutes for this to happen. Go. So you're probably seeing
Exactly.
some of that.
Yeah, exactly what it was like.
But I appreciate that about him when I'm working with him because like obviously everybody's different, and I think certain types of designers are kind of farther away from that, kind of appreciating kind of the timings of things and the order in which things need to happen, kind of more production side of a way of looking at things, right? So it's more maybe they're more focused on it's like okay, in the abstract, how do you make the game as awesome as possible? But I do really love working with Broad in the sense that he's really able to help balance some of that for me, such that I don't have to always come in and be the bad guy and be like, well, that's a super cool idea you want to do. It's going to take 20 years to build. I think he's very. He really makes my life easier. Where we have a chat and he's like, you're right. We can make reasonable decisions together.
And yeah, and it feels like a lot of people don't realize that the Hearthstone team specifically has a lot of people who've been either with Blizzard for a very long time, or B, people that Blizzard has drawn out of the Hearthstone community as it has developed. Like a lot of the people who work on the game started out as people who played the game really well or put a lot of work into the game and its communities from outside the company. But there's a lot of people who ended up working with you guys by being a part of this game at a distance.
Oh yeah, totally. And I think that also stems from the fact that, and I think Jason Chase has talked about this at a talk before too, is we really think of the community as an extension of the development team, and feedback from, even like places like Reddit or, kind of listening to podcasts like yours and kind of feedback from your community. It really feeds into our system, and I think it's no surprise then that I think some certain members of the community, who are already kind of part of this development process and come and join and sit with us. So it's been a really awesome project to work on over the last 3 years, and Hearthstone's really been more than just a project for me. The team's always been kind of like a family to me, and as an extension, I think the community's really felt like a family to me as well. So sometimes I think people get really riled up and we get kind of into maybe like siblings dispute and stuff like that. But it really helps, us take it with a grain of salt, because we're all in this because we want Hearthstone to be awesome. And we're all in this for the long haul. So, no harm, no foul. Like, just tell me how you really feel. It's okay.
Let's have the family fight over Thanksgiving dinner. I got you. Yeah.
Exactly. And then we'll hug, and then we'll eat the, gingerbread cake or whatever, and everyone's happy.
Gingerbread cake.
Nice.
All right.
I don't know.
Funnel cakes.
Funnel cakes. Exactly. It's so funny
right, so-
because sorry, I was gonna.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
It's a silly story about the funnel cake. No, I mean, so when we designed the card, because we got a lot of people made fun of that because, and I'm actually kind of partly to blame is. Sometimes like when we're wrapping up a set, we've got like, 130 plus cards, and there's, a lot of different things we got to do. We got to get the card art. We got to make the golden version of the card art. We got to make the card effects, and we got to do the VO. We got to add the sound effects. And, sometimes you have to make some decisions at the end where, we got 2 weeks left before we need to lock everything down. Here are all the things we could do. And I know John Zwick, who's one of our effects artists, super awesome. He did feel pretty strongly about kind of, doing something different with the refreshment vendor, and it did come down to a point where someone like myself, I'll just take the blame here, I guess. It's like, you know what, like, we got to wrap it up. We got some carrots going on. Let's go. and then like I saw this reaction to that, and we're like, oh man, like people definitely notice the details. And I took away some lessons from that as well, where I think I'm less inclined to let things like that go. When people are promised funnel cakes, try to give them at least, something beefy or like turkey leg or something. Like, don't go with the vegetarian
turkey
option.
leg.
Yeah.
Confirmed all carrot errors are Yong's fault. Good to know. Good to know.
I will take the blame for that carrot.
All right. Well, I know we don't have a whole lot of your time left because we took a whole hour of your day, and thank you so much for coming and doing this with us.
Yeah.
Not a problem. It's such a pleasure, and I'm really honored to join you guys for your 50th episode.
Thanks,
Thank
man.
you.
Appreciate that. before we let you kind of get back to designing that new set whose name we don't have just yet, is there anything you want to leave us with? Anything you want to say, kind of just, shout outs of your own or anything you want to leave the people who tuned in today with before we let you go?
I just want to thank all of your listeners for enjoying Hearthstone. It's really what gets me up in the morning. And I've got this like crazy long commute. I live like an hour away from work. That's
Wow.
really my fault. But that's what gets us going, man. Like we love playing Hearthstone. We love working on it. We love watching other people enjoy the thing we make, and we love getting the feedback and trying to incorporate as much of that back into the game and do it again and again. And we've been at this for now, at least for me, like I've been at this for like almost 3 years, and every day it still feels fresh, and every day it's like the new meta of like development experience, right? It's like we're trying out new things, we're trying out new sets, we're trying out new game mechanics, new features, and we get more and more different types of players into the mix, and they all have kind of different desires and opinions. So thank you for playing Hearthstone, and thank you for like listening to dudes like Well Met. I think that's also I think kind of supporting like individual podcasts like you guys and some of the other podcasts and other smaller communities that are growing makes a huge difference. And like even for someone like myself on my long commutes, if I didn't have you guys and some of the other podcasts I listen to, like I would probably lose my mind, on those long drives. So keep it up, support, thank you for supporting us, continue to support our podcasters and other small community members, and let's keep having a great time for the next 5-10 years and beyond.
Yeah. Well, is that it? I think we got there, huh?
And
That's
also,
the hour.
I'm announcing tournament mode. Wait, that's not.
What? Yes, we did it.
Tournament mood and new expansion.
We did it, Reddit.
Exactly. You
Right.
wrote me that.
So close. He's like
So
3
close.
minutes away from cracking.
Yeah,
We have
3
2 minutes left. Awesome.
Cool. So thanks for hanging out, guys, and we should hang out more. And I'd love to do this again at one point.
Thanks, Yong. Thank
it
you
would be our
so
pleasure, man.
much. We'll see you around. We'll have to play some Overwatch and Hearthstone in the weeks
You guys
to
should
come.
Totally challenge. You should. We should definitely. Oh, actually, one thing I wanted to talk real quick about was I think there was a Reddit question about who I thought would win if all these podcasters got together.
Oh, yeah.
There's a win between Well Met, the Angry Chicken, and Value Town.
Yeah,
So-
we all had a rumble.
I think there's only one way to answer this question. I think you guys should actually get together and have a tournament. So it's
All
a
right.
challenge to you guys to get together with TAC and Value Town. I would love to watch this.
Yeah, who's the best Hearthstone podcast player?
Yeah,
All right.
exactly. Make it happen.
We could throw that gauntlet down.
Yeah. I definitely want to see this happen.
I want to be on Kevin and JR's team. Oh, wait. I am. Perfect.
Oh, wait.
It'll be perfect.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well,
Good
thanks
idea.
so
We might
much,
have to
Yong.
get that going.
Yeah, well, thanks for the chat, guys.
Good. Great. We'll see you soon.
Well, that was crazy, guys. I am blown away. Getting to work with him on this show, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was pretty
Yeah,
cool.
that was. Sorry, I had to get the vectors back up because we are live, chat. Just kidding. Well, we are. I'm not kidding. We are. But anyways,
Yeah.
that was really cool. Young, cool and smooth as always. But hey, we hit him with some tough questions that we didn't
I
get.
tried to get
answers
the tournament mode. Tried, guys.
We tried. We had tournament boned baked into 3 questions to see if we can get anything there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't say we didn't try.
all right. Well, we also are celebrating a 50th episode. So before we get out of here, we're just going to take a couple minutes and talk about our 50th episode. Thank you guys so much for hanging out for the Yongwoo interview. We hope you enjoyed it. We did our best for you guys. Tried to source your questions over weeks to get the best ones and then get them approved. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Guys, 50 episodes. What's your favorite? Kevin, I'm going to ask you first. What was your
gotta go
favorite
first.
part of 50 episodes?
I don't know how you pick just one, man. I mean, you have to remember that I mean, I've been playing Hearthstone since the day it came out. I've been involved in this community since the day it started to exist. We've been working on Hearthstone related stuff for years. Before Well Met, it was Hearth Pro and working for Blizz Pro and writing guides on other sites and doing all kinds of work. And now, I mean, it's basically my life, right? I mean, between casting and podcasting and all the other stuff that's going on with writing, it's all I do. But like, I have so many specific fond memories, right? I remember going with JR to PAX East right before we started the show way back when, and being able to come back and talk about being at the show to see the Blackrock Mountain announcements and play some of the new adventure at Blizzard's after party. I remember every time that one of us hit legend and getting to come back to the show and talk about what a cool experience that was and being up there and fighting against the pros. I obviously have pretty strong feelings about, you know, my background with this show being a huge part of how I got to go cast at the Hearthstone Championship Tour Winter Preliminary, because that wasn't something that was going to just happen. And they talked quite a bit about my background as a podcaster and a content creator. That's what got me to that gig. So, I mean, 50 episodes, all of that stuff has been life-changing for me, man. And I wouldn't have met you, right? JR and I had worked together before, but I never would have got to meet you and hang out with you and introduce you to Kibler at BlizzCon and watch you fangirl a little bit.
I fangirled over everything at BlizzCon, for the record. I fangirled over the lines, which is what you don't. I'm like, this is so great. We get to stand in line for something awesome.
I'm in line. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
JR, what about you?
Yeah, for me, it was really the biggest thing for me is just meeting everybody that's been in the community, and that's in the community has been really awesome. Like, I have had no bad experiences so far since we've been doing this. Everybody has been fantastic and great, and just being able to talk to you guys and answer your questions on the show, interact with you on like social media and things like that, being able to meet you at BlizzCon. I was really surprised at like how many people came and wanted to chat with us, and it was just really cool. Like, I've just going to the Fireside gatherings and having people talk about the show there, and it's just meeting everybody and being able to have this shared interest has been really cool. And that's the biggest thing for me, is just getting to play Hearthstone with everybody that's watching and listening, and talking about this game that we probably spend way too much time playing. It's been pretty awesome.
Way too much.
Yeah.
Way too much. What about me? Oh, well, let me tell you about me. I will do that. So, first and foremost, the first time that I heard this blew my mind. Kevin's tummy laugh is the funniest thing ever, and when you hear it in person, amazing. Second thing, though, JR's Face Hunter rant, absolutely amazing. Episode like
it was
15-ish?
a very early episode, yeah.
Yeah, it was like one of the
has
first
Face Hunter,
PvPs way back when.
It has Face Hunter in the name. If you guys haven't heard JR's Face Hunter rant when we did an PvP that one time, you need to go check it out because it was hilarious. I died laughing. But most of all, this has been a huge year for me. This has been 1 year from literally going from zero podcasting, community work, and just like being an intense player to this has been incredible. And it's been because of you guys. So I love you guys for it. And yeah, been a great year.
Yeah, and we're just getting started. I mean, if you think about it, this is just the beginning. Like, I'm really looking forward to playing this and doing this show for years to come, and just play a lot of Hearthstone. That's what I want to do, guys. Just play a lot of Hearthstone.
We will. And a lot of Overwatch. We'll play a lot of Overwatch, too, for right now. Before we do get out of here, something I did want to say, too, is we do want to thank our friends of the show, Martin Z and Jeremy A., who are a couple of our supporters on Patreon. Thank you guys so much. You rock. Because of you guys, we get awesome interviews with Yong. So thank you guys for doing that. But now let's talk about the elephant in the room here a little bit. Kevin, you had an insanely exciting weekend. We want to hear a little bit more about it. Casting at HCT alongside of Frodan and Kibler, all sorts of insane names. tell us about your experience. Give us the breakdown.
Yeah, I mean it's such a crazy story, and it's hard to keep all the pieces together. I mean I'll go through it, and you guys can ask me whatever you want. There are certain things I can't say, but in general, yeah. I mean, phenomenal experience. I got to go to Blizzard campus, hang out with a bunch of the Hearthstone and Esports team, kind of learn about the vision for HCT this year, and what they're planning is incredible. Like the year ahead looks just unreal. We ended up in Burbank at the ESL studio for the actual show, and everybody who was there takes it so seriously. Like, I know the game has this very like kind of fun, collegial, tavern-y vibe to it, but the work that goes into making it happen is unbelievable. We were in studio all day Friday, practicing, rehearsing, going over material, making sure everybody was comfortable, knew how everything was going to work. And then when they let us go, I rounded up all the amateur casters. We went back to my hotel room, and we spent 5 hours sitting in my hotel room going through every player, every deck list, who's bringing what, what's coming up, what do we want to say, what do we know about these people, how did they get their championship tour points, building the storylines and learning about what we needed to do to make a really killer show happen on the weekend. And then obviously, I mean, I hope that most of everybody who's going to listen to the show saw some of Saturday and Sunday. I got all kinds of crazy messages, tons of really positive feedback. Everybody was saying that they thought we all did a really great job, that the show was really good. I got messages from people I haven't talked to in years who said, I had no idea you were involved in this. And people who said, I've never watched a single game of Hearthstone before in my life, but I tuned in for this and now I'm interested. I want to see who wins the championship. Or I downloaded the game. I want to learn more about it. I'm going to try it. And that, for me, was really cool to be sort of someone's first exposure to what Hearthstone and Hearthstone's competitive scene really is, and I loved it. I loved everything about it. What do you guys want to hear though? Like what do you want to know about?
Matt, I'm good. I'm just kidding.
Shots fired.
I mean, you covered the big things. Are there anything weird that Kibler and Frodan do, like in between takes? It's like, oh, that's kind of weird.
Oh yeah. My God. So, well, okay. I mean, you guys don't see it because it's not on stream, right? But literally, like, when they're on camera, they are on, right? It's all business. They are looking at the camera. They're talking to their fans. They're doing their job. The second that screen drops to commercial or even switches to in the game, and we're not actually live on camera, Frodan is like, he's like stretching and like half asleep. Like he's just like, he'll be like yawning or like checking his phone. Like he's super intent on the game. He knows what's going on, but just like the way he acts, his mannerisms when he's not on camera, crazy and just super funny to watch. I mean, and you kind of get used to it because everybody starts to sort of like, you get into a groove and you mellow out a little bit. So you're doing your job, you're doing the cast, but you do have a fair bit of downtime. So you get a chance to kind of like, you know, see who's messaging you online and relax a little bit between sets. But yeah, it was just, I heard before I ever worked with him that like Frodan, for example, is well known, I guess, in the like casting community for, he'll just go like take a nap. Like he'll be off screen. He'll just go take a short, like couple of minute long nap, and someone from production will have to come over and like tug on his jacket, be like, Frodan, you got to go. We get 30 seconds here on camera. And he'll just like snap to it and go do it. It's unreal. Hilarious to watch.
It's actually pretty interesting to hear. I would not have expected that at all, but also not surprised because there actually a lot of people end up doing that, like behind the scenes. It's a very exhausting thing to do, so I can definitely see that.
Yeah, like you don't realize when you sign up for this, like, yeah, I mean, I spent 2 days in the studio, but once you've been in the studio for even a few hours, like you get, I mean, it's hot. You're under big bright lights. You got thick makeup on. You're wearing like the new dress code. I think everybody uniformly agreed was infinitely better than what they were doing last year.
No more esports tuxedos. Yes.
Yeah, no, and it's great. I was so happy. But seriously, like it is hot. You are tired. By the end of the day, like we'd get out of the studio at whatever, like 5 o'clock California time, and like everybody would be like, okay, we're going back to the hotel and take a nap and a shower. Then we'll go get dinner and prep for tomorrow. Because everybody's just beat. Like you are exhausted after a day of having to be on like that. Because you're not even just being yourself. Like you are trying to be in the zone and super high energy and focused. And it's taxing.
Yeah. Wow. Well, man, congrats. I hope you get many more opportunities in the future to do it because I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thanks, man.
But think we got to get out of here, yeah? Is it time? Episode 50 in the books?
Yep.
Let's go ahead and get out of here. We didn't get to emails this week because we obviously had a big interview that we wanted to get through. But let's talk a bit about our Patreon, Kev.
Yeah, so obviously we kind of mentioned it earlier, but we do have a Patreon campaign set up for people who want to support the show. It's enabled us to do a ton of cool stuff. We're looking at our first call-in episode very soon. We're going to start doing bonus monthly episodes as of March because of the support we've gotten from you guys. And we're looking into even more cool new stuff that we can do in the future. Additional merchandise, tournaments. We want to hear from you guys what you want. So for this week, special thank yous to Sean G and Joseph H, who are our new patrons. If you're interested in supporting us, you can check it out at patreon.com/wellmetpodcast.
Totally. iTunes reviews. Nothing new this week, but if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star review. It helps us a lot in the rankings, but whatever. We just like that you listen to the show. That's the important piece. Let's go ahead and close this guy out. JR, shout outs for the week.
Yeah, I'd just like to give a shout out to everybody that's been there for the last 50 episodes, everybody that's been supporting and listening to the show, everybody that's come out and has messaged us or anything like that. Thank you so much. You guys are the reason why we keep doing this every week, and we'll continue to do this every week. If you want to come out and hang out with us, I did set up a Discord channel. You can get there at discord.blitzpro.com. Come join us, hang out, play some Hearthstone with us. It'll be fun.
I'm always in there. If I'm streaming or playing video games, I'm always in the Discord hanging out. I might not be playing Hearthstone, but I'll be playing something. I'd love to hang out and chat with you guys, so come hang out. Kev, what about you? Shoutouts for the week.
Man, what a crazy week. I guess I got to thank everybody who tuned in and watched the Hearthstone Championship Tour, the America's Winter Preliminary. If you sent a tweet, if you posted anything online to help people find the stream or give positive feedback, that meant the world. And you wouldn't believe it, but Blizzard is watching every single word of that. Like the esports guys who were backstage with us, they're sitting there, they're watching the hashtag, they're watching every post on Reddit as it comes in. They are super invested in your feedback, and it makes a huge difference for things like whether or not I get to go back and do it again. So if you had something to say, I really appreciate that you took the time to do it. And big shout out to the people who put together little viewing parties. I know like friends of mine, even my mom wanted to throw up the stream and watch and get people together to see what I was doing. And that was so cool. People were tweeting me photos of that stuff. That was amazing. Thank you guys so much. I really hope to get to be back on that desk again in the not so distant future. And the only reason I got as far as I did is because of you guys.
Awesome. Last, me. Shout out and thank you to Yong for coming out on the show. That was amazing. That was so cool to have that happen. I've never been able to be a part of something like that before. You guys have done developer interviews and things like that. That was my first. So,
I think this is my first live one, which was very nerve-wracking, especially with as many people we had watching there.
I popped my dev interview cherry.
Oh.
No.
I left a thing.
Yeah, just
move on.
It wasn't.
All right.
Next, go.
Well, all right, we're out. So, Well Met records live Sunday evening at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at twitch.tv/BlizzPro. Unless you're hanging out for this show, it is 1:13 p.m. Mountain Time. So, don't worry, we're not doing it on Fridays anymore. But we record then. Our intro and outro music has been awesome. You're going to hear the outro in a second. It's brand new. Hope you like it. It was done by Jake Butineau over at jakebutineau.ca. Go ahead and check out his stuff. I do believe he has all of the Well Met and Payload stuff available for download. So if you like it, want it on your iTunes or whatever, you can download it right from there. Also, we got a lot of compliments. We got a brand new vector going on with new backgrounds and frames and things like that. Really incredible things. And that was from Mr. Dreadscythe of scythedesigns.com. He was great to work with, pulled it all together, super flexible with everything. We love you, dude. Thanks so much for doing that. We also have a Well Met merch store, so you can head over to store.blizzpro.com, pick up one of these t-shirts. and they're pretty sweet. They're actually really comfortable too. I have the American Apparel one, which is super comfy. And you can find us throughout the week everywhere else, patreon.com/wellmetpodcast, at wellmetpodcast on Twitter, wellmet@blitzpro.com. Send us your emails, that stuff, wellmet@blitzpro.com. And we also have our own Facebook group now for our patrons. So if you want to chat with us every week, if you give any amount, you're in the group. So we chat on Facebook all week, and it's pretty fun. So yeah. So last but not least, you can find us on all of your favorite podcast outlets, iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, all of those types of things. If you like the show, feel free to leave a 5-star review. But that's about it for us for episode number 50. From all of us at Well Met, have an amazing week. We won't see you this Sunday because we've got this show coming to your podcast feeds ASAP. But that about does it for us. We'll see you guys for 50 more episodes. Bye.
Well Met is a production of BlizzPro.com. The show records live at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at twitch.tv/BlizzPro. To get the latest news and information about the show, follow us on Twitter at WellMetPodcast or join us on our subreddit at reddit.com/r/WellMetPodcast. If you would like to support the show, you can find out how at patreon.com/WellMetPodcast.